Something unusual happened in December 2025. Not a scandal, not a fan war, not a staged headline, just silence. Because a single nomination quietly surfaced. And it hit like a signal flare across the entire entertainment industry. Wang Yibo, only 28, was reportedly nominated for the 2025 Asian Pop Music Awards. And what made it different wasn't the name. It was the message. This time, it wasn't about noise. It was about standards. And if you stay with me, I'll show you why this moment didn't just elevate one artist. It forced everyone, including Xiao Zhan's side of the industry, to reconsider what real influence actually means. A nomination like this is never just about a song or a stage. It becomes a public signal about what an industry is willing to reward. For years, the entertainment conversation has been dominated by visibility. Who trends fastest? Who commands the loudest online presence? Who can turn attention into a daily spectacle? This moment, however, is framed as something quieter and more unsettling for the system. If a nomination is perceived as being assessed through broader, more professional criteria, it shifts the center of gravity from popularity to craft. That shift matters because it changes what people believe is possible. When audiences hear independent judging and international panel, they don't merely think about prestige, they think about fairness. They start asking whether the old shortcuts still work. They also start re-evaluating the meaning of influence. Is it the ability to mobilize noise, or the ability to deliver excellence when the lights are on and the stakes are real? For Wang Yibo, the narrative becomes symbolic. It suggests that the market is beginning to reward endurance over intensity and competence over performance for performance's sake. For the wider industry, it is a mirror held up without warning. If the nomination is treated as credible, then everyone, artists, agencies, media, and even viewers, must confront an uncomfortable idea. The era of being seen may be giving way to the era of being good, and those are not always the same people. The most powerful rebranding does not arrive at a press conference. It arrives when the public suddenly realizes it has been watching someone evolve in silence. This is the essence of the quiet flex in Wang Yibo's current narrative. He appears less interested in proving himself through words and more committed to letting the work accumulate until it becomes undeniable. That kind of shift resonates because it feels rare in modern celebrity culture. Many public figures are trained to respond instantly, to control narratives, to clarify, to defend, to keep the audience emotionally engaged at all times. Wang Yibo's projected approach, by contrast, leans into restraint. The message is not, "Look at me." The message is, "Watch what I do." It is the difference between seeking approval and building credibility. For audiences, this restraint reads as maturity. Not perfection, not distance for its own sake, but a disciplined refusal to be pulled into every wave of opinion. It also introduces a more adult kind of charisma. The confidence to withstand misunderstanding in the short term because you are focused on the long term. The emotional impact lies in what it implies about identity. If you have ever been underestimated, labeled too quickly, or misunderstood because you did not perform your personality loudly enough, this narrative speaks directly to you. It suggests that growth does not need to be announced. Sometimes it only needs to be completed. The most interesting comparisons are not the ones that declare a winner. They are the ones that reveal two ways of surviving the same pressure. In this story, Xiao Zhan functions as the counterweight, not as a rival to be diminished, but as a different blueprint for longevity in a demanding industry. Where Wang Yibo is framed through crossover range, Xiao Zhan is framed through depth and continuity. There is a quiet dignity in that model. The decision to refine rather than expand, to build a reputation through sustained dramatic work rather than multi-field disruption. If Wang Yibo's narrative is about breaking boundaries, Xiao Zhan's is about strengthening foundations. Both require discipline. Both involve risk. They simply distribute risk differently. For many viewers, this contrast is emotionally compelling because it reflects a real-life dilemma. Some people seek growth by stacking skills, moving across sectors, staying agile. Others seek growth by choosing one lane and becoming exceptional within it. Neither path is morally superior. Each demands sacrifice. Crossover careers can be vulnerable to accusations of dilution. Specialized careers can be vulnerable to stagnation or typecasting. The question is not who is better, but what kind of pressure each person is built to carry. By framing Xiao Zhan as a serious, vertically focused figure, the narrative invites the audience to respect difference rather than fuel conflict. It transforms celebrity discussion into something more human. Two ambitious professionals choosing two different ways to endure. Industries do not fear talent. They fear standards they cannot control. When a moment is framed as professional recognition that sits outside the usual traffic-driven machinery, it creates a kind of exposure, not a scandal, but an inspection. Suddenly, the unspoken mechanisms become visible. How reputations are manufactured, how momentum is purchased, how narratives are massaged into certainty. That is why the word quiet carries such weight here. Silence can be admiration, but it can also be calculation. If the public starts believing that credible evaluation exists beyond hype, then agencies and media lose one of their most reliable tools, the ability to redefine value through sheer volume. The industry is exposed because the audience's attention becomes harder to manipulate. People begin to ask inconvenient questions. What are we celebrating? Visibility or competence? What are we rewarding? Virality or preparation? In this context, Wang Yibo's story becomes more than personal success. It becomes a test case. If someone is perceived as rising through measurable achievement, then every career built primarily on spectacle looks more fragile. That is not an attack. It is a structural tension. It forces organizations to consider whether they need to invest more in training, skill building, and long-term credibility, rather than simply marketing presence. For viewers, this exposure is satisfying because it feels like honesty. Not the noisy kind that tears people down, but the steady kind that asks the industry to grow up. And when an industry is asked to grow up, it rarely applauds. It pauses. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want more StarWatch Now stories that focus on career strategy, real influence, and the emotional side of fame, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching and for spending your time with us. Your support helps us keep building content that's thoughtful, respectful, and genuinely engaging. Until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next StarWatch Now update.